Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talks with Todd.
Yeah, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Hey, listen, this is episode 10. God willing, there's many more to go. I just want to say thank you once again to all my supporters, man. Y'all make this great. Y'all make me really, really love this. Uh, One thing I want to share with y'all though, before I get right into the topic, I want to let y'all know that a lot of these stories that I've been telling y'all, I've told them before on my other podcast. Uncomfortable convos really opened the doors for me to share some stories, and I want to let y'all know that even though I shared some of those stories on there, whether y'all seen them or not, what's good about Talks with Todd is that I'm giving y'all more of a backstory to everything. You know what I'm saying? So this episode right here is very serious, and well, it's one of the few that's very serious. And I just want to share this with y'all to give y'all some insight on how y'all need to move, especially when you enter a marriage without a prenup. So we're gonna jump right into it. The jail time, man. The little jail time I had did a lot for me, and I'm gonna take it back as to why I ended up going to jail in the first place. Uh, when me and my ex, we were going through a divorce, right? And prior to the divorce process, we were going back and forth. We did some type of notary crap where she wrote out or typed out what she wanted from me and what I can keep, all of that, right? Cool. I wasn't feeling it. So at some point, when my ex found out about my current wife, she she ended up going through my Apple Watch or something. I was giving my daughter a bath. My Apple Watch was left on the counter. She found out everything through there. Now, clearly, I didn't just be straight up with her because I wasn't trying to hurt her feelings even more than what I already did. So she go through my watch, see that, broke my watch. Now, keep in mind, we had somewhat of an agreement through this notary. And when she broke my Apple Watch, which was around that time, it was like 2018, so it was probably about $400. And when she broke it, that kind of broke up the some of our agreement because I'm like, okay, if I'm paying you X amount of dollars every week, which was something I was doing prior to us being split up anyway, it shouldn't be no problem. But you broke my property because you got in your feelings, you know. And at the time, I really wasn't even understanding how she got in her feelings. We were split up. We was doing our own thing. So I wasn't understanding why she got in her feelings so much, especially since she hated me so much and all of that. But whatever. She go through my watch, break it. I stopped paying her. I'm like, hey, that's a $400 watch. So you about to be missing some money every week I get paid. That's when the divorce proceedings went through. And with that divorce decree that her and her shady ass lawyer drew up, right? It wasn't really fair to me at all. It really left me in a bold predicament, really. And I wasn't about to go for that. So she told me straight up, I gave her props. She was being straight up when she said this. She said, if you get a lawyer, it's gonna get worse. I got a lawyer and let it get worse because I just wasn't down for that. Like, how was that fair to me? She put me in a position in this divorce decree, whereas I couldn't just live on my own, really. Like, I would have had to either have a roommate or I would have had to live very, very, very low. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking studio apartment type shit. And I just was like, dog, what did you think you was about to get out of me with this? You got me giving you X amount of dollars when at the time, like I said, I was at a plant for 9 years, so I was only getting paid $22.50 at the time. You trying to take half of that, if not more, and then you think I'm supposed to survive off the crumbs that I'm left with? You can forget about it. We gonna fight. So in this divorce decree, she also put something in there, or allowed her lawyer. Let me not say she did it. God forbid she's not responsible for anything. Her hands are clean, ladies and gentlemen. She had her lawyer draw up this decree and put in there that half of my 401 goes to her. Now here's the problem with me giving up half of my 401. I built that 401 up while I've been at the plant. I was at the plant prior to us, getting together, getting married. So, to be quite honest, if anybody deserved half of that 401, would have been my first wife, not her. You know what I'm saying? So, anywho, my whole thought process with the whole thing was you wasn't with me shooting in the gym, aka you wasn't in that plant building those car seats with a nigga. You wasn't in that plant driving a high-low, working 10 to 12-hour shifts. What makes you think you deserve half of what I've made? You crazy. Now, stupid me, ignorant me, I'm thinking because we wasn't married for 8 to 10 years, she doesn't get half of anything. But that's not how things go down in the state of Michigan, unfortunately. So, once I found that out, I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like I'm talking to my lawyers, and keep in mind I went through 2 different lawyers, technically 3. But the first lawyer, he just didn't have the balls to go up against the lawyer that she had. And family court, for those of you that don't know, it's very, very messy. So everything with our divorce decree tied into family court and of course my half of my earnings. So I'm talking to my lawyer and I'm like, yo, I can't give her half of my 401. He like, you got to give it to her. But he didn't explain why. I didn't understand what the problem was. I'm still in the state of mind that I'm in. I'm still believing she can't be entitled to half of my 401 if she ain't been married to me long enough, right? So after everything was said and done, the judge told me I do have to give up half of my 401, and then it hit me. Dodo, you didn't get her to sign no prenup. Y'all don't have no type of prenup. That's why she can get half of your 401. Cool. Now here's the thing. This is what's tricky. Now, for those of you that don't live in Michigan, Michigan is a no alimony state, right? However, they use tricky words where it's pretty much still alimony. They call it marital assets. So whatever I obtained while we were married, that's why she was able to get half of my shit. Because, well, let her tell it. I had that 401 set up when we got married. I actually had that 401 set up before we got married. But again, because it grew while we were together as a married couple, that's how she was able to grab my half of my 401. But I still wasn't trying to give her half of nothing. And y'all gotta forgive me because I got a lot of ground to cover, so this is gonna be a little more long-winded. Get your popcorn ready, get your afternoon drinks ready, whatever. This is gonna be a little longer than my normal shows. Okay, so anywho, I don't give her. Long story short, I don't give her my 401, right? And I go to court. Judge tells me, Mr. Todd, you better either have the money or you better have bank statements showing as to why you don't have the money. Cool. And the judge, she saw obviously I had the money. I ran through it, and on purpose. But, it wasn't just like I just went out and blew it. It was a lot of shit that I need to get done. For those of you that ain't never been through no divorce before, let me tell you something. First off, unless the woman is always making more than the man, even if the woman is making more or not, the man always gets screwed over in a divorce unless the man has to be, his sexuality got to be questioned, put into question, if he wins in a divorce decree, or in a divorce proceeding, I should say, because some men are just not good at playing the victim like that. Not real men, I should say. I know a couple of dudes that play the victim better than women, but most cases when it come down to a divorce, the man gets the shitty end of the stick every time. And if he doesn't, he either got a hell of a lawyer or he just played that woman role better than the woman. That's really how it is. And I've heard of men going after a woman's 401. Like, who raised you dudes? You going after a woman's 401? Like, look, it sounds crazy to me, but it happens. So most of the time, the dude gets screwed over, right? And if you don't have your ducks in a row, you have to start over every time. Every time. It's just like you hit a reset button and you got to start a new life without the person you was with. That's how it always is. So my start over process was crucial. And it just so happened my start over process was happening while my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, was by my side. So that kind of made matters worse in this whole situation because in my divorce proceedings, my ex made it seem like she was the chick on the side and she was a home wrecker. You can't wreck a home if we don't have a home that's able to be wrecked. The home was already wrecked prior to my wife becoming a part of my life again. So, but she ran with it. She played that victim role to the T. Hey, I know you and your stalkers or whatever probably sending you this shit. You deserve an Oscar for that. You deserve an Oscar. She played her role well and was able to get pretty much whatever she wanted. Now, during this process, the judge told me, come up with that bread, whatever, or you going to jail for 10 days. Now, when I first heard 10 days, I'm like, I could do that in my sleep while doing a handstand. That's nothing. And this is me never going to jail before, like never doing any type of time. So it's like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? 10 days. Ooh. But when that judge saw those bank statements and saw that I had that bread and I did whatever with it, whether it was something I needed or not, just the stuff I think when she looked at the bank statements, she saw what I didn't need and was just like, oh, that could have been money going towards her and So she was, she was a fairly new judge. So I guess she called herself trying to make an example out of me. And plus she was trying to move up at the same time. But I'm telling you, the way that this judge acted, she acted as if I was married to her and I screwed her over or something. It was ridiculous. So it went from 10 days in jail to 90 days in jail. So at that point, I'm like, whoa, damn, 90 for stealing my own money? Are you serious? This ain't even her money. But obviously, because I didn't sign no prenup, she was entitled to all my shit. Cool. That's how she looked at it. So here it is. I'm going to jail. But I'm still cool. I'm not even tripping about it. I'm like 90 days. That's a long time. I mean, at the worst, I'm just going to miss the hell out of my kids, miss my wife. That's all that's going to suck, right? So I'm in there. And at first, jail started off, for those of you that's been locked up before, at first you just in a big cell with a bunch of other people until you get classified. So when you get classified, right, they basically look at your crime and put you where you need to be. So long story short, the thugs go with the thugs, the rapists go with the rapists, you know what I'm saying? And the white collar criminals and blue collar criminals go with where they need to go. So I got in because they saw that I wasn't a threat. I got moved away from all of that other shit in the regular jail. I got moved to somewhere it was a little more comfortable, right? So I went from being comfortable, then I ended up being a trustee. So then I did like laundry or some shit. So then I ended up getting a little more comfortable. I was able to watch DVDs and I was folding clothes, shooting the shit. I still had phone privileges and all of that. And my wife was the only one I was allowing to visit me. So, I was getting my weekly visits. All of that was cool. It just, what sucked the most about sitting down was that I did miss my kids and my wife. However, what sucked more than everything, what really pissed me off, y'all, was that my kid, mainly my son, because my daughter was too young to know what the hell was going on. My son was of age where he knew what was going on. He was well aware of everything. He was being lied to while I was sitting in jail about where I was. And then he wasn't even just getting lied to by his mom. He was getting lied to by my mom and whoever else was siding with my ex, right? And I was getting pissed because when I'm hearing about it, I'm like, yo, how does my son think it's cool for me to be on this vacation with no phone, but my wife is with me? That's the lie that he was being told, y'all. If only I could slap people through a phone. Like, that really pissed me off because how you think that's making him feel? So thank God for my wife and some of my family members. While I was in jail, obviously me and my wife was writing letters back and forth, right? So I wrote a letter strictly for my son. I gave it to my wife, and for her to give it to and I gave it to her so she can give it to my cousin Lo. Salute again to my cousin Lo for looking out for me in my time of need, because he ended up going to Thanksgiving dinner, and obviously I was still sitting in jail. He gave my son that letter. He was ecstatic. I was so glad that he was able to get that letter and understand what was really going on. So, anywho, I'm serving out my time, and while I'm sitting in jail, I'm getting my mind right though. Now let me get to the good that came with me sitting in jail. I'm sitting in there and I'm like, you know what? I can't do nothing but do my time. The worst thing I could do is just sit up here and let my mind wonder about the what ifs and all this other bullshit. Because at one point I was sitting up here thinking like, yo, I should have just cashed out and gave this broad the money. You know what I'm saying? Like, was it really worth me sitting in here? However, I remember asking God to give me some time to myself, because all the drama that was coming with me divorcing her and moving on in between that time, it was a lot. It mentally had me broken. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I was through before I went to jail. Like, it was times where I dreaded getting my kids because I didn't care for the drama that was gonna come with me dropping them off or picking them up, because it was always something. Like we went from meeting up at a designated area, like to where it was cool and comfortable, to, oh, we got to meet up at the police station because my ex wanted to lie on my current wife. It was just ridiculous. It was a mess, okay? And I just got tired of the mess. So I remember praying to God, and I asked him for some time to myself so I could think. I didn't think I was going to end up sitting in jail for as long as I did, but it was cool because while I'm in there, I'm starting to get my mind right. I'm starting to develop more patience and also some discipline, because I'm not gonna lie, it was one person in there that needed their head cracked personally by me, and it wasn't nothing extreme. It was just little hoe shit. You know how people be, little hoe shit that was happening here and there. And he wasn't a brother either. He was some goofy looking Italian guy, and he was just obnoxious. You know what I'm saying? He was just really just ridiculous, ignorant. You know, and I just really wanted to go upside his head, and I just had to keep thinking, you go upside his head, you in this bitch longer. So you got to relax. So, anywho, I'm sitting there getting my mind right. I'm reading books. My wife, salute to her and Amazon being best friends, because those books, especially Gucci Mane's book, really got me together, because a lot of the stuff that he was going through in his book, I was going through at that same moment. So his book really got me through my minute stretch in jail. So I'm getting all that together, you know, my patience, all of that, and I'm just getting more focused. I'm working out, all of that. I'm just really getting my mind right, and I'm talking to people that really don't even deserve to be in there. I'm meeting all kind of people that, you know, well on their way to being doctors, and, you know, they got their own businesses. I'm meeting like good people in jail. They just got caught up in some bullshit. The majority of the people that was sitting in there with me was either in there for child support, B&Es, which is, you know, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, that's breaking and entering. What else was it? I believe some people just was like violating probation, and I want to say that might have been it. You know, everybody else that was in there, probably a couple of drug raids or something like that, but I was the only dude sitting in jail for what I was sitting in jail for. Like, I'm talking to other criminals in there, they like, you in jail for what? You stole your own money? Like, like that's crazy. But it's the truth. I went to jail for stealing my own money. So that's the joke that I got to keep telling myself to remember while I'm sitting there, because I'm like, yo, this woman didn't do nothing to deserve that money. Yeah, she got my kids, but she wasn't doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? I was carrying the bulk of being the parent at one point. I'm talking about getting off 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning and taking them to school and daycare when she could have jumped in and did one or the other herself, well on her way. I'm doing all of that. And, sometimes on my days off, of course, I'm doing it all. Only thing she was making sure that was happening is that it was food on the table, really. So it was just like, I'm doing everything else. So no, you don't deserve this money. You didn't do nothing for this money. If you was a decent wife, I would have gladly gave you half. You didn't deserve half or nothing. You got your half, which is those kids. You know what I'm saying? Our kids together, that's our 50-50. That's it. That's all you deserve. So while I'm sitting in there contemplating, strategizing and about how things could have went, I'm also saying to myself, yo, would it really have sat well with me if I'd have gave her half of what I earned off my blood, sweat, and years? No. Nope. If I had to do it all over again, I'd have did it again. Only difference is I would have got a prenup. So, yeah, man, I really learned a lot from that. And, once I did my little stretch, I was able to get out of jail early, actually. And I put in a kite, which is basically putting in a request, right? And when I put in this request, the request was basically asking for me to be able to move, like get out of, either take a class to get out of jail early or get ready to get out to finish out my sentence at home doing a house arrest thing. So once I did all of that, I was good. I put in my kite, and that's when I put in the kite to take a class, that's when I kind of got scared, because in that particular class I was trying to take, right, I was told by another inmate that I couldn't take the class because what I did was looked at as a felony. So I'm like, I got an F on my report card? Yo, that's not even cool. I gotta do something about this. So I'm tripping in jail thinking, oh man, I got a felony on my record. It's gonna take a minute to get this off my record. What's gonna happen with the jobs and all this and that? Come to find out, I didn't have no felony. And of course, the courts ain't gonna tell me I don't have no felony. They just question me about it, like, are you sure you have a felony? Like, yeah, this is what I was told. This is why I couldn't take a class to get out early. Like, I know what I'm talking about. At least I thought I did. So, anywho, I finished out the rest of my sentence at home, which was cool to an extent, and it wasn't. Because when I came home and I was kind of in a rush to get back to my kids and all of that. Like, I was trying to get them back. So I get out early, I got a tether, and they gave me a breathalyzer, but I went to jail for something that wasn't even drinking related. I know, it's stupid. That whole system is retarded. So I got to get up certain times in the morning, do this breathalyzer test, make sure I do it, and if I don't do it, they give me a call like, hey, you didn't do it. So yeah, and then by me being on the tether, I could only either go to the hospital, court, or just to a doctor's appointment. That's all I could go for. That's it. I couldn't go for nothing. I couldn't leave for nothing else. All I could do was take out the trash. And if I went too far, that boy get the like I wasn't feeling that. So I'm out of jail, and I'm at home with the wife. Everything, it's still kind of off, because I'm like, damn, I'm home, but I can't even get back to the money. And I knew while I was sitting in jail, my wife was struggling because she was missing my financial backing. She wasn't just, obviously she missed me and everything else, but she really missed that. So while I'm sitting there, she working her ass off just to try to keep the lights and everything going. Like, so it was crazy. So by me coming back home, it kind of had me like feeling down a little bit, because I'm home, but I can't help do nothing other than keep the crib clean and cook. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't do what I would normally do to get to the money and make sure everything else is up to par. So I really wasn't feeling too good, but at the same time, I had to look at it from my wife's standpoint. She has said, it's better that you home, because that's less money on commissary, that's less money on that phone. I said, you're right. I got to start looking at the positive aspect. So anyway, I'm trying to get my kids, and my ex told me, because it was my parenting time around the time, and my ex told me, well, if you ain't got no way to come get them, you can't get them. So I took her to court. Took her to court. So I went up to court, tether on and everything, and I got played for my parenting time. And I don't know what happened exactly. Well, I take that back. I do know what happened. My lawyer just failed to tell me. He sucked. Both of them sucked. What happened was, when they went in there to fight for me to get my get my parenting time back, even while being on the tether, the judge had told my lawyer she could send me back to jail at any time because I ain't paid that 401 back. That money never turned back up. So obviously I found that out after the fact. So that's how I got played. So when I got off the tether, that's when I really fought to get my kids back. So I fought, started getting my parenting time back, all of that stuff going smooth. Then a whole year later goes by, and she takes me back to court for me to start paying for that 401. Mind you, I never gave her the money, and now that at that point the money was gone, due to me being sitting in jail, like what was left of it, all of that shit went to me being in jail, making sure I was straight while I was sitting down for a minute. And when that happened, the judge was like, hey, listen, you need to start making these payments, because on some real shit, I could send you back to jail at any time I want to. I could wake up on a Wednesday and say, you know what? It's time for Mr. Todd to go back to jail. And he didn't, because he didn't pay that 401. And I was like, all right, bet. I'll start making payment arrangements. Me, I'm not even really tripping about having to pay her, because I'm like, you know what? This could have been a whole lot worse. I could have gave her one large lump sum of what I owed her, and I would have been pissed because she wouldn't have did right by that money. Not even doing right by that money with my kids. She'd have been spending it on stupid shit or blowing it on, tricking on some dude or whatever. So I'm like, yo, I'm not about to, I'm glad that I'm in this predicament to where I can give her pennies on the dollar, because that's exactly what she's getting. So I was cool, once I started thinking about it like that. And it's just a bunch of stuff was going on at the time where everybody you could think of that hated me was on her side, including my mother. I mean, this is where the games with the kids started coming about, and me being in jail or doing some time in jail was kind of sort of getting used against me. And I'm like, yo, you getting child support, you getting paid back my half of my 401. What you complaining about? Shut up. Take your money, blow it, because Lord knows you ain't doing right by the way my kids be looking when I pick them up. Clothes dirty, no haircut, hair ain't done, nails, my kids look like they just got done getting rescued from a jungle when I would pick them up. So I'm like, I'm glad that you didn't get all of that money in one large lump sum, because I wouldn't even have seen the good you would have been doing with it, because you wouldn't have been doing no good, just to spite me. All right? So I was happy, and she had all these people in her ear, everybody you could think of. You got all the master splinters in her ear, like, man, you should do this and that. And then she had, to my knowledge, she had two dudes that sexuality was put into question, that was in her ear as well, trying to gas her up, do stuff. One of the dudes even suggested the bulldog of a lawyer that she ended up having. So it was crazy. It was really crazy, especially getting out of jail. Like, in hindsight, I wish I would have got out of jail and didn't say nothing. But I was too emotional, y'all. I was so busy thinking about my babies, I didn't care. You know what I'm saying? I was just really trying to get out and get back to some type of normalcy. My kids didn't know where I was at, or my son knew at the time after getting that letter, but it was just like, yo, just the fact that he was being told lies, it was like I was being the cleanup man when I started getting my kids back, and it was horrible. It was horrible, because I had everything that my son was coming back saying to me, I'm like, no, son, that ain't what happened. This what happened. But that wasn't making things no better, because guess what? When my son was going back with his mama, he was checking her ass, and he ended up in a shitty predicament when he was back with her. So it was horrible. So I kind of wished I would have did things different, but you know what? It all played out the way it played out, and it's cool. My son know the truth. unfortunately, because by us going through our divorce, he was kind of forced to grow up quicker than what he should have. He was more so in adult business than he was in kid business, and that wasn't cool. But it is what it is. Can't do nothing about it. But I'm just glad my son ended up finding out what the truth was. And, you know, he know I wasn't just vacationing with no phone with my wife, and he didn't know where I was at. You know, that's bold as hell for somebody to tell us, a 7-year-old. You know what I'm saying? I think maybe he was 8 he was about 6 or 7 at the time that happened. So it was just like, yo, that's nuts. You know, so I really want everybody to understand that if you get married, know who you get married to, because you don't really know who you dealing with until you see them when they angry. The woman that my ex is, I don't know her. Don't get me wrong, she's always been kind of disrespectful, loudmouth, kind of evil in a sense, but she did have some good traits, but I seen more negative than I seen good, and that was all due to her not really liking me or wanting to be with me. It is what it is. But again, it led back to her not really wanting to be with somebody like me. And it's cool, but at the same time, it wasn't, because look how everything played out. So know who you're marrying and get a prenup. For the love of God, get you a prenup. Me and my wife right now, we got a prenup. Like, and there's no hard feelings. We both know we didn't get into this shit for any other thing else other than us wanting to be with each other. So there's that. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope y'all enjoyed episode 10. I got more coming before I close out the season. And yeah, man, I believe that's it. I don't think I'm leaving out nothing. I hope I'm not. If I do, I'm gonna catch y'all up episode 11. So anyway, I appreciate y'all checking me out again, man. And I'm out of here. Enjoy, indeed.